First up, we've got a little movie called Hoodwitch. This is a French movie directed by Saïd Beltibia, who I didn't know, but I kind of did know because they were an actor in Athena, which is interesting. And there's a weird sort of a connect here. If you didn't remember Athena, that was on Netflix. It's a movie, and it was kind of noted because it was this really audacious one, lot of one shots of this kind of uprising, social riotous uprising in this kind of a projects area of France. Anyway, we'll talk. There's a little connection to this as well, and that is there's kind of this weird subgenre occurring in France right now of pretty great movies taking place in these kind of housing projects and immigrant communities in France. And I just mentioned Athena. I also mentioned there was a couple of years ago one called Gagarine, which I loved. Really, really great movie that no one ever talks about, but it's out there. And then last year there was this cool little a horror movie called Infested about these kind of spiders just taking over this apartment complex. Part of that movie was about the kind of the underground communities in these housing projects, and this guy was kind of raising these exotic insects. Kind of a weird connection to this movie as well. Not just the a complex part of it, but the raising of exotic animals. And I'll tell you why. So this movie is, first of all, for a little low budget horror slash psychological horror thriller kind of movie, it is shot incredibly well. This movie is looks fantastic. I don't know how it was shot and what it was shot on, but it's not probably filmed, but it just looks really, really good. It gives you a great sense of place and a great sense of where they're at and just what's going on. The very beginning of this movie, though, it starts with our main character, Nour. Oh my, these are some names here. Golfshit, Golshifteh Farahani. I'm gonna write a stop. Okay, Nour. She's there with her son, and her son is gonna be Amin. So Noor and Amin, and they're going through the airport. They're going through the customs area, and she's getting, questioned about what she's doing, what she's bringing in, why she's coming back. She's coming back to France, and you think, oh my gosh, does she have drugs? What's going on? And as she's about to be cleared through customs, there's a movement and a sound from her jacket. They tell her to take off her coat. She does, and strapped to her entire body are all of these like lizards and spiders and things. Like they put like they're like in little containers, like little plastic pockets that were attached to her. And obviously, she's basically smuggling all these exotic animals, mostly insects and lizards, snakes. She's smuggling them all into France, and that is kind of her introduction. That's kind of a fantastic opening to this movie. And then you basically get into her life, and she lives in one of these giant apartment complexes, like I talked about, with her son. Her apartment itself is almost like a exotic animal, little haven. There's like little aquariums and stuff all over the place. And you find out that what she does is she supplies these needed insects or snakes or lizards or whatever to various like spiritual healers slash witches slash warlocks, or whatever you want to call them, faith healers. There's kind of this need in the area for these, for the healers, and then also for these things that she carries that she brings in. And you find out very quickly that that's kind of her gig, right? Although she's also working on an app for your phone where you can kind of find all these faith healers and connect to them. And so she's not really a huckster. She's not really a con artist, but she's someone who's found an angle on a thing that people need. So, for example, if you were translating this to, I don't know, health gurus, she would be the person that would get you connected to the health gurus and get you all of the supplies you need, like, the workout gear and the promotional materials, whatever it is. She's the person that kind of hooks people up to all those things. And really early on, she has a conversation with her son about how, if you were there in the gold rush, the way you made it was not to go and look for gold and be lucky and find gold. What you did to make it was you sold the shovels to the people who were gold hunting for gold. So I think that's obviously very intentional. That it's kind of giving you a little thematic piece to this. But that would be one part of this movie. And then the other part is now that she's tied into these faith healers, she's tied into these people who are, you would say, either supplying very needed faith to people or robbing people through their faith. So depending on what you look at it, you can see her as an accomplice. And the world may or may not end up seeing her as an accomplice as this movie progresses. Also, Denis Lavant is in here, very famous from Holy Motors and other movies that we've talked about before. In fact, he was in Gagarine. Weird connections throughout. So the magic of this movie is you're really following Nour, and you're really following how she is trying to hold her life together while it is spinning out of control. And it's a lot of times because of her. And it's both kind of a thriller because, like a real witch, eventually community might turn against you. She's not a witch per se, but is she a witch? I'm not really. Not really a horror movie. It's really more of a social thriller. And I thought it was pretty darn effective, pretty cool. Her performance at this is the center and really powers you through. And a lot of times it's almost played out as if you're just hanging on with her by her fingernails, just trying to keep her son and her life the way she's had it before intact while it's spinning out of control around her. So I think if you like movies that are interesting, odd kind of corners of society, as well as spinning out of control or life breaking apart kind of movies where a character is really trying to hold everything together against all the odds around them, I think this movie could really strike a chord with people. And it's a very surprising movie because it looks like it's going to be a cheapo genre movie, just a cheapo like horror movie about some kind of witch in the quote hood, which is a terrible title and a terrible poster, not giving away how great this movie actually is in a lot of ways. I think if you kind of can leave all those preconceptions behind, this is a real kind of a hidden gem. And once again, that's kind of what we do, right? We find hidden gems, and hopefully we're going to find a few this episode. In fact, I can tell you we are going to find a few in this episode. So I'm going to give 4 stars to this only because narratively, it's a little bit uneven. Like it took me a while to kind of get into what this movie was doing, but once it did, I think it gets better as it goes, which is great. But I think it could have got there a little quicker. And it could go up, in my opinion, with rewatch. But I think this is really worth your time, especially if you like independent and more unique international movies that aren't just the usual heavy dramas or political thrillers or whatever. This is something kind of out of the ordinary.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.